Welcome to the first installment of Whatcha Reading. I'm John Roy, joined by Beverly Sampson. Wave everybody. Yeah. It's good to see everybody. We're doing this little series about reading and books that we're reading to try to inspire us all to go out and read more. So, Beverly is an avid reader, and so I've asked her to come today and talk to us about at least one book that she's been reading, but we're going to cover a lot of different subjects, okay? So, tell me about the book that you, the last book there that you've read.
The last book that I finished was Apples Never Fall by Leanne Moriarty. Mm-hmm. And I believe Angela has a picture of this she can edit in. And I'm going to read some notes about it.
All right, go ahead.
It's about a missing woman.
Mm.
The Delaney's have been married 50 years. They started a tennis academy, and all 4 of their children were tennis stars. The children are grown now, and none of them pursued a tennis career. Mm. The parents continued to run their tennis school, but recently retired. One night, a young woman knocks on their door, bleeding after a fight with her boyfriend. This woman is a stranger, but they take her in and help her out. She moves in, cooks and cleans for them, becomes friends with the mother. The children are suspicious of her, but the mother is very fond of her. Later, the mother goes missing, and the young woman is nowhere to be found. The question is Mrs. Delaney still alive? If not, did her husband kill her? Is the young woman a suspect? Mm-hmm. By reading the book, we learn all about each family member and how the investigation is proceeding.
Okay. Now, Apples Never Fall. There's 4 apples on that, so there were 4 children, right?
Right. I think that's what
the
name and the apples are about. Although, the saying is apples never fall from the tree, but none of these 4 kids pursued tennis, mm-hmm. which is strange because both parents are still involved. So.
Yeah, that is a little bit strange. Is it set in the U.S.?
Yes. Couldn't tell you where.
Is it set in current times or the 80s? Or?
It's pretty current because they all use their cell phones and texting and so forth.
All right. So, now the reason why she showed it to you with a photograph is that Beverly, like myself, uses the library a lot, okay? So she didn't have the book with her to bring. She'd already turned it back in because it was a new book, right?
Right, and it was due, so I just took a picture of it.
So that's the way it works sometimes. You ought to use your public library more. Wouldn't you agree?
I love it. Yeah, my bookshelves are full, so I just get them from the library.
Well, and I don't know that the camera's picking up, but my bookshelves are full, and Joanne has stopped me from buying books, okay? So I can't buy anymore. All right. Well, how do you choose what you read?
I mostly like mysteries. I like a little science fiction. I have some favorite authors, but when I'm between authors, I read book reviews to fill in the gaps while I'm waiting for the next book to come out.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and show us? You got a list of your favorite authors.
Yes, I do.
I like that list.
Have a list of favorites in no particular order.
Okay.
Louise Penny, David Baldacci, Nelson DeMille, Jeffrey Deaver, Andrew Gross, Sue Grafton, Ann B. Ross, David Rosenfeld, P.J. Tracy, and Janet Ivanovich.
Now, Ann B. Ross is from Asheville, right?
She's from Asheville. She might be retired now, but she's an English professor at UNC Asheville.
Okay.
Janet Ivanovich is a bestseller in humor. Mm-hmm. Louise Penny is a big favorite. Her main character is a detective. It's set in eastern Canada, just over the border. Mm-hmm. And it's a detective series, I guess you could say. But it's in a little tiny town, and so you get to know the people who live there.
Okay.
And you follow the detective's career as the years go by in her subsequent books.
Well, what makes a good mystery?
A good mystery is a book that keeps me guessing.
Okay.
I don't want them to give it away too soon. Usually a good author will throw out a lot of clues and you try and put it together, but normally I don't pick the right suspect because they throw out erroneous clues or leave out some important information.
Well, and that's the trick for them, isn't it? And I think some people feel like, well, if you learn something in the last 30 pages of the book, and you think, God, if they'd have told me that in real time 100 pages ago, I'd have guessed it. But that's the exact reason why they didn't tell you, is they held that because they knew that would help you get over the top. And so I like doesn't have to reveal on the last page, but I need it to reveal late in the conversation.
Right.
Well, I like a good mystery too. Now, what kind of joy do you get from reading?
I read because it's entertainment, it's escapism. I don't find much on TV or in the movies that appeals to me anymore. So I do that for my entertainment.
Okay. Do you have a place in the house where you like to read?
I've got a couple of reading chairs, so to speak. They're both
Okay.
recliners. One is in the sunroom. When the weather is nice, I like to sit out there. Otherwise, I'll read in the living room.
Okay. All right. And that really does help. I know that sounds like such a silly thing, but it really does help to have a place that you designate and say, this is where I read, and this is kind of a protected space. And I know when the boys were at home, I couldn't really have a place like that because they had their own books, and they would see my books and move my books and kick them and accidentally do a variety of things. But now that they're not there, I have a place where I can just stack up my books, and I'd read 3 or 4 books at one time. Because I'll start something, I have a little attention deficit, kind of wiggle a little. So it's kind of what I'm in the mood for. It's kind of like picking dinner each night for me. Dinner is, what kind of mood are you in? It's not just, is it Wednesday night, so we're having lasagna. It is, if I'm in the mood to, read something that's nonfiction, I got a book there. If I want to read something that's fiction, I got a book there. So now I know that you got another list.
Yes.
Well, people are outside laughing outside my door. I'm sure that's getting on the camera now, or the audio. So these are people that you want to tell us a little bit more about the books that they've written, and also some friends of yours who are writers.
Right.
So please tell everybody about this.
Pearls of Wisdom by Barbara Bush. She's known for, and yes, this is the president's wife, she's known for giving advice whether you want it or not. The book is full of really wise things that she said to people. Some of them were family, some were staff members, some were dignitaries. She didn't care who she gave advice to, and it was usually really good advice, but very witty. So it's a humorous book and just full of wisdom.
And the pearls of wisdom comes from the fact that she wore a lot of pearls. That was one of her just featured sort of
Trademark.
jewelry.
Yes.
Okay. That's clever. Yeah. Okay.
Where the Crawdads Sing is just, it's a fairly recent bestseller. I'd never heard of the author, but it was on recommended lists, and so I gave it a try. It's about a young girl who was abandoned in the swamps, marshes of eastern North Carolina, and she raised herself, which is pretty scary in itself.
Right.
But the book itself has mystery, romance. There's just a whole lot in it, but the main thing to me is that the book was written just beautifully, very poetic. She was very skilled with her English language.
Well, some people are wordsmiths, and they do tie a sentence together beautifully. Other people are better at building the plot and building characters. But I do like somebody who can turn a phrase and who can string things together. And oftentimes I like it when people can use unusual words in new settings that get my attention. That's kind of why I like reading scripture from other translations, because you get the King James or the NIV, well, you can kind of predict where that's going. But if you get another translation, sometimes it'll throw in a surprising word that you think, I didn't think about that. Now, you know some authors, so tell the folks about those. 3
friends who've published books. Lynette Eason is a Christian author. She's a cousin by marriage. She's got a whole lot of books out, and they live in the Greenville area.
Okay.
Dorothy Wiley has read some of her books, but they're Christian, romance, suspense, all rolled together into one.
All right.
Nancy Northcott I've known since 7th grade, and Louise Gordy McIntosh I've known since college. I'm still in touch with all 3 of these, of course. And Nancy writes more of fantasy.
Okay.
And Louise's are always set around Maryland because that's where she lives and that's what she knows. She'll dig into some history and build a story around it.
Okay. And so fantasy is not science fiction.
It sort of is, but it's more like there may be creatures that are half people, half something else.
Or elves or something like that.
Yeah,
Where science
something
fiction
like
is
that.
usually always in space or always involving space travel or.
Or at least science that's
Yeah, at
turned
least science,
on its
yeah.
ear.
That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
And I like science fiction. I like a little nonfiction. I mainly read that if I'm looking for some knowledge, to learn about something, or if I hear about a book that piques my interest that's nonfiction or biographical,
Okay.
like a little science fiction.
Well, you know, you and I have read all of our lives. We can't pinpoint a day where we said, well, hey, this is when we fell in love with reading, right?
Right.
But there's a certain amount of school or education that demands reading. You know you're a reader when you're reading for pleasure, and you're not reading because the book was assigned to you. And so now as adults, nobody assigns us any books, right?
Right.
So we get to read whatever we want, whenever we want. And so that's kind of the reason why we're doing this, is that we're hoping to inspire people to pick up a book and read. Don't just sit in front of a TV all the time. Find a subject you like, mysteries, science fiction for Beverly. Me, I like a good biography. I love a good biography. And biographies, as you know, are 700 pages long oftentimes. Sometimes a couple even volumes, like if you were doing Thomas Jefferson or something. So hopefully you'll find something you enjoy reading this winter and read some good books. And when we do this in the summertime, I can call on you to come and sit in my office and we'll talk about one of the books you read. Well, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Beverly.
You're welcome.